here, Adeolu Adewumi-Zer, founder of Zer Consultant Africa. And I welcome everyone from LinkedIn, from YouTube, wherever you're joining us. And wherever you're joining us, just want to ask, just have everyone introduce themselves. Let us know what exactly do you do, how long have you been doing it, and with how many people are you doing it with. So what do you do? What kind of company are you representing today? How long have you been driving this company, trying to scale this company, and how many people on your team? So if you just drop your introductions, we'd love to see whether on LinkedIn or on YouTube where exactly everyone is coming from and what your context is. So just to get into the intro of our program, we are here to introduce again our Scale Masterclass. If we can bring up the slides, like we do every other Wednesday. So Wisdom Wednesday, as some people call it. And today we will walk you through just what the scale framework is. Next slide, please. And as usual, we bring in our special guest, Mina Abdel Shahid. Mina is based in Cairo, Egypt. So for all our North Africans out there, we finally have a representative, and we're happy to see that we're really becoming a Pan-African community. So whether you're based in the North, East, West, South, Central, you can find yourself here. So moving on, who am I? So today, please, the next slide. So first, we talk about why you should join this masterclass. So just one slide back, please. Thank you. So Zer, who are we? We're a purpose-driven Pan-African strategy management consulting firm looking to empower leaders such as yourself to really scale what we call African excellence on the global stage, representing Africa in the same way that the Americans, the Europeans, and the Asians represent themselves. And so what we do within these master classes and within other content that we share is to share knowledge, tools, and frameworks, and really upskill ourselves as African entrepreneurs. And who am I? My name is Adeolu Adewumi-Zer. I myself am also a founder. I'm an entrepreneur. I have led corporate businesses, have also been a strategic investor in Africa, worked for over 25 years across 4 different continents, 20 of those years in multinational companies, so the kind of companies that we all aspire to be. And of course, with my team, developed our proprietary scale framework. But most importantly for me is that I identify as an Afro-optimist. So to hear more about that, next slide, please. So when you had joined this masterclass or signed up for this masterclass from wherever you signed up, you would have answered just a couple questions, because we do like to learn about our audience. We like to know where you're coming from, what are your pain points, and here's what we heard in terms of what did you want to address most in your masterclass. And for those who chose Strategize, you're in luck, because that's indeed what we'll be focused on today. And trading and giving you practical tips from someone who is and has been in your shoes and coming from a particular market. So moving on. First, we want to introduce our scale framework, SCALE, and what this is, and you'll find out in our book. So for those of you who have read Afro-Optimism Unleashed, you would see the same framework spelled out in our book. And it's really a 5-step roadmap to really transform your business using this framework to empower your vision and turn it into reality. And what does the scale framework, what are the areas of the scale framework? First, we start with S, which is strategize your vision. And this is really about how do you turn those dreams and those aspirations that we have into reality and learn how to execute them. But you can't do this by yourself. You have to do this with people in your team. So really championing excellence within your team so that you can execute on the strategies and the visions that you have. But of course, leadership starts at the top. So how do you accelerate that leadership? both within yourselves. Next pillar, please. Both within yourselves and across your team. So that's with Accelerate Exceptional Leadership. And then moving on to corporate governance, where we talk about the L, leveraging governance for sustainable growth, because for the companies that become big, they have processes, they have structures, they have the right people and accountabilities in place. And lastly, we're all doing this for impact. And so that's expanding your impact, whether it be financial impact, whether it be social impact. And this all spells the scale framework. And today, as I mentioned, we'll be focusing on S, which is strategize your vision. And with that, I would like to bring our special guest today, all the way from Cairo, Egypt. We have Mina Abdel Shahid. Mina, welcome, Mina. Mina is the
Hello,
former
hello,
chief
Adewumi.
marketing officer at Allianz Egypt, and a former colleague and now partner, and is also the founder and CEO of two companies, not just one, but two companies, Cornerstone, which is the consulting arm, and Kingdom Creatives, which is marketing. And so some of you might have forgotten that a couple years ago, I was working at a tiny little company called Allianz. And Mina and I met each other at Allianz. And for to set context, Allianz closed last year at 100 billion euros. So whatever currency you're working in, whether it's naira or shilling or rand, etc., this is euros. So 180 billion euros, 160,000 employees scattered over 70 countries. One of those countries was Egypt. Allianz Egypt uh, has a market share of almost half of the insurance sector in Egypt, with, I believe, Mina, 10,000 employees, something like that is what I read,
A little
and
bit less.
posting 100, 400 million euros on your own for the Allianz Group. And as you were there for 20 plus years, you were a large part of that growth story. So today we want to learn, as small entrepreneurs now, from how you're able to build such a powerhouse in the Egyptian market. So Mina, welcome.
Thank you so much, Adeolu. Thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure of being part of this very interesting forum. You're such a friend. Long time ago, I remember the first time we met. It was in these huge global meetings in München, and then afterwards we kept very closely communicating. Our story is merely identical. We left corporate at the same time. We started the same line of business at the same time, and it's always a pleasure to
Exactly.
be with you and with all reputable guests in this forum. I hope our talk is interesting and is engaging. I hope it adds value to the people. I think leaders from every corner joining this call would have their own also unique story to be shared. But again, it's just a perspective from another one on this side of the continent or that side of the continent, where every one of us shares with the others for a more of a wider spectrum for each and every one of us to learn from each experiences. So again, thank you for
Yeah,
having me today.
and I love having you here,
Uh,
Mina. So yeah, so let's jump into it. And you're based in Cairo, Egypt. We have people scattered all across Africa, and feel free to drop where you're watching us from, whether you're on LinkedIn or YouTube. Feel free to drop. But we know that we can learn from each other. So yes, we have 54 African countries, and we're not just one country. We're not just one Africa. But there are learnings that we can take from sector to sector. So let's talk about the strategy execution gap. And the reason I want to start there is because strategy is one thing, right? So it's nice to have a nice PowerPoint, a nice memo, etc. But then when you actually have to execute that strategy, everything might change. So we often see strategies fail exactly when we want to execute. So everyone thinks like, okay, now we're done. We've had a strategy workshop. We're good to go for 2026. But then January 1st rolls around and we have to execute. So based on your experience in Egypt, do you find that African SMEs generally develop sound strategies? So that's the first step. So before we move to execution, do we actually have sound strategies across the continent? And then when we do try to execute them, what's the single biggest reason that we need to watch out for and you've seen people fail at the execution stage?
Well, it's a very interesting question, and also maybe you shed the light a bit about our background. My mandate within the Allianz Group, my last mandate within the Allianz Group was Chief Market Management Officer. So strategy was part and parcel of our daily bread and butter. After I left corporate and established the consultancy firm, I started dealing with different businesses, different dynamics in different aspects of the economy, and I was actually shocked to find that lots of SME business owners do not actually have a strategy. They started the business, they are super successful, it's a one-man show, it's giving them scale, revenue, profit, and they do not really know what's going to happen tomorrow or why did this happen and so. So my first finding is a bit surprising, is that at least all over the past couple of years, I have not found lots of SME business owners having a strategy from the first place. And as we always say, failing to plan is planning to fail, and that's the dilemma. You know, they have problems, but they do not know why the problem exists. I want to scale, but I don't know how to scale. I'm faced with problems, etc. So that's the number one thing. But for the very few that I saw that do have strategy, I saw it more as ink on paper, to be very honest with you. It's ink on paper. Nothing is real. It's quite cosmetic. It's not representing neither the market nor the business. And accordingly, there is no solid grip on the strategy. People do not know what will they be doing tomorrow. And to be also very honest with you, I found that even if the CEO or the owner knows the strategy, it's not communicated, it's not cascaded down, and actually, as you mentioned, execution eats strategy alive. So basically, that's the main finding. For me, the majority do not have, and for the very few that do have it, it's put in an envelope, thrown in a drawer. It's not communicated properly. It's not real. It does not represent the market, does not represent the business. And according to me, this means that there is no clear strategy. That's it from my side. I don't know if it answers your question or not.
No, definitely. And I'd love to hear people's experiences. Again, drop your comments in the comment box, whether you're in LinkedIn or in YouTube. So first, we're hearing that most of us don't even have a strategy. That's the first problem. And then secondly, we're neither communicating this strategy or even thinking about how we're going to execute them. So then give us some advice. So I don't have a strategy, or I listened to you, Mina, and I developed one, but now it's 2026. What should I do? What's the first thing I should do?
Well, first of all, I need to ask myself, can I do on my own a strategy or not? If I do have the capability, excellent. I should start right away, today, not tomorrow. Point of action, now I will build my own strategy. If I do not have the capability, I need to seek a support from a friend. Adeolu, Mina, whomever is available, whomever is a consultant that will not take half of my revenue and will help me build a corporate strategy, and I need to seek the support. This is number one. Number two, once I have this practical, real, actionable, I need to immediately start involving whomever that was not involved from my team into the strategy formulation, strategy build-up. I communicate my strategy, and I need to have a very strong governance framework to manage the execution plan. Because if the strategy is there and there is no plan, it will not happen. If the plan is there and there is no governance that manage the execution, it will not happen. And if we start with the most beautiful strategy with no execution, the business would start running on a treadmill, as I call it. So I think these are two very tangible actions today. If you do not have one, have it immediately. And if you have one, build a very robust plan a very concrete governance framework to make sure that whatever is planned is executed. And if you start execution step by step, slowly but surely, definitely the business will advance and move forward. But don't put theoretical terms and terminologies within your strategy, cosmetic terms and terminologies. Be very true about it, even if it's small. Make it true for it to be impactful. That's my advice.
Okay, so you heard it today. If you haven't started developing your strategy, so the best time to do it was yesterday. And if you didn't do it yesterday, the best time to do it is today. So I hope after you heard Mina, you'll drop everything you do and you start thinking about how you're going to build your strategy for 2026. And if you don't feel that you have that capacity in-house, there is support out there, as you've heard from Mina. Next thing to do is to make sure that once you do have a nice, pretty strategy in place, that you actually have a plan to implement that strategy. So thank you, Mina. So Mina, as Chief Marketing Officer and also here now in your consulting and your marketing work, so it's not just strategy and consulting you do. You also talk about branding. Branding is a key piece of executing that strategy. So I'd like to hear about while you were managing branding, marketing, communication in Egypt, and for us as African SMEs, because we want to be Pan African. We don't want to stay in our local market. We want to build multinational powerhouses, just as you have done in the past. So, what is the most fundamental lesson that you've learned from a branding perspective, from a local perspective, that we could then implement in our markets to scale globally?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. It's a very interesting question. For me, the whole thing starts with the brand. You need to have a brand, and we'll talk a little bit about this in the coming few minutes. What does branding mean? At least from my experience. After having
Yeah.
a brand, you need to have a very strong marketing strategy. That's the second pillar. Because if you don't have a
Hmm.
brand and you do not know how to strategize it, who needs your brand? Where does they need it? How will I be able to pass this product to the client? Forget about any operational effort. And then at the end, how to communicate your brand and how to have a very strong communication plan and marketing plan to communicate this strategy and execute this strategy. Let's first start with the starting point, the brand. I think
Yeah.
there is a very big confusion about what does brand mean. Most of the
Hmm.
SMEs that I saw, even medium-sized corporations in Egypt and in other parts of the region, I saw them solely focusing on a logo and a visual identity. And that's it.
Hmm.
That's the brand for
Hmm.
them. Whenever you start talking about what does the brand stands for, what are the values of the organization standing for, what is the brand persona, what is the brand archetype, and so on and so forth. Branding is a huge science that should create the brand personality and the corporate personality. The visual identity is just the look and feel. How would it look in the outside? If this fundamental personality is built, I do believe that the communication part is going to be much easier because you know who you
Hmm.
are. You can communicate it in the most appropriate font or color or visuals or tone of voice and so on and so forth. This is number one. Number two, once you have this brand built, and this is something that we do focus on dramatically, now we need to have a strategy to communicate the brand and also communicate the product, but you need to have a marketing strategy. Marketing strategy for me is a very fundamental element to drive your marketing activities. Lots of us and lots of people here and there, they open Facebook pages, they open LinkedIn pages, they open um, um, websites and so on and so forth, but without knowing why am I doing this. For example, a very
Hmm.
funny fact, and if the colleagues around the call, they would start Googling my companies and Googling my Facebook and digital accounts and so, they will not find this existence so far. I have decided a couple of years ago that we'll be working below waters and I will be having a digital detox stage. And then soon in the coming quarter, we'll be launching our fresh digital platforms, but this is based on a thorough study that was done over the past period. What is our brand, who we are, how do we want to communicate, and so on and so forth. I could have rushed in doing it immediately, but again, having something that does not really represent the company or our values and so on and so forth. So my advice to the people, as long as you do have a secured revenue and you can rely on other sources to bring revenue to the company, do not rush in building social media accounts and conveying the wrong message to the customer or the potential customer. And then lastly, the execution part, you need to do it very properly. Lots of people, unfortunately, save on marketing spend, which is a very big mistake in my opinion, and especially in industries like the ones we are coming from, Mina and Adeolu, very traditional industries, whereby marketing was a cosmetic function for a period of time. Marketing was just for printing brochures and so on and so forth. But actually, this group, the Allianz group, probably in 2018, has invented a different model that means moving from push to pull. And by that time, the whole dynamic changed all across the globe in not pushing products into customers, but rather building the brand foundation, building the partnership that will communicate the brand, having a very solid strategy to pull the demand and pull the customer. If this done properly, there is a very big incremental curve, I would say,
which we saw.
That would, which we saw exactly, which we saw. Last but not least, once this brand is built, there is a strategy to communicate it, and there is a very strong communication plan. We need not to forget the human aspect in our businesses. People that are delivering the service to the customer, they need to understand the brand persona, know the tone of voice, and this needs to be translated in each and every communication moving out of the company, each and every call, each and every email, in each and every interaction with the customer, especially in service industries, whereby the service is solely dependent on the person and on the human resources, the human capital. Sometimes beautiful brands exist, but people on the ground do not understand anything about how would this brand be talking to the customer. And then you find that your brand persona is diluted at the very core point of delivering the service to the customer. So basically, this needs to be looked at from a very holistic perspective, starting from the brand, the strategy, and the execution. That's my point of view.
So listen to you, Mina. Thank you for that. So branding is more than just, if I can use this analogy, it's more than just the clothes you wear, right? It's your personality. It's the person that you're building and who you are. So if you just pop up a logo on your new company and you think, okay, branding is done, that's not it. There has to be much more work than that. And then again, when you have a strategy to push your brand, it's not just popping up on social media. There's much more work that goes into it than simply having social media accounts peppered everywhere. And then what I heard from you is that consistency is the key piece in really communicating your brand, both internally and externally. Mina, I saw a couple questions already pop up while you were talking, so maybe we can take some of the questions from the audience. First one, being a consultant, what's your take on SME operators using ChatGPT and other AI tools? AI always has to come into the discussion as their strategy and business consultant.
Well, that's quite a very common phenomenon, to be very honest. But again, we have one of the two choices: either to neglect this and throw it in the garbage and not look at it at all, and consider ChatGPT as the devil that will eat us all alive, or to look at it from a constructive perspective and see how to smartly use this tool, but wisely and intelligently and based on real market inputs, so for it to be a very strong tool within the business, either for us or for the customers. So basically, I do look at it as an opportunity that can help. It's a very smart secretary or a very smart person that can help you You need to be prudent about your prompting and how to use it and so on and so forth. But don't look at it as a competitor. It's not a competitor as long as the type of consultancy input that you're providing to your customer is genuine, real, hot, and that will provide to the customer real value. The difference is huge, and customers all over the past couple of years can really see the difference. There are things that needs to come from the field, from a person that has seen it, from someone that saw the client, knew what's the problem, real problem, and what's the real solution, and so on and so forth. So for me, it's a tool that can help you and help the customer, but you need to use it wisely and don't rely on it, because if it is doing the show, in a very short future, will not have a place in the business. That's my
Yeah, and I think to add to that, so I'm a big AI champion. People who know me know this. One to answer that question. So one thing you need to think about, we need to think about, is the difference between reading a book or watching a video and speaking to someone about our problems. So yes, we can just read a book, and the book will explain, or ChatGPT or AI will explain what we need to do. But again, we come down to execution. Are you actually able to execute the knowledge that you're reading, wherever you're reading it from? So let's move on to the next question. I see a couple of questions have also popped in addition. That's the next one. How do we balance not rushing to open or building social media presence when you're in the ideation stage of your solution? Well, everyone's telling us that we should just start imperfect, start as you are, just start. I think this is a great one to take, Mina.
Yeah, it's a great one to take, to be very honest. I made a very clear note here. I totally agree with the concept. Yes, go start. You don't need to be perfect, and so on and so forth. However, for me, being someone that truly believes about branding and the fundamentals of branding and strategic marketing, and so, why are we doing this from the first place? We should be very clear. Why are we doing marketing, and why are we doing social media accounts, and so on? So building the public appearance of the company, speaking our voice to the customer, and so on and so forth. But mostly to attract customers, to have a source of revenue, and so on and so forth. For someone like me, over the past period, probably relying on the natural networks and sources and customer referrals and so on and so forth, I was not pushed or rushing into opening these accounts to help get more customers before I do it the right way and I do it in the most appropriate way. This for me took some time. Probably for you, it will take 1 month. Probably for another person, it will take 1 quarter. But again, the message is, yes, start. But before you start, don't just put some pictures and throw some things. Things can be very easy. It shouldn't be a very, very, very complicated study, and you shouldn't go to the biggest multinational agencies to build your brand or do your branding work. You can come to agencies like ourselves that would take fractions of this amount, and that can deliver your brand in 3 weeks. But again, once you have something, be proud about it. It should represent you correctly. It should not only hold your visual identity, but also the brand persona. And that's my personal opinion. Probably for others, they see things differently, and I totally respect that. Maybe it's better the other way. But again, for me, I see that lots of people, they just run to attract the customer and to generate revenue, and then the revenue is not generated. And then they come to me. Why my revenue is not generated through the website? Why I'm not attracting customers through this website? And then I go fundamentally. How is the website built? How is the brand built? What are you talking about? And let's put things in the right place. Once you put things in the right construct, immediately the funnel starts to be built. So that's
Yeah.
that's my opinion, Rita. Thank you for the question. I think it's a very good one.
Yes, and I think what one takeaway I would have from what you're saying, Mina, is just because one person needed 2 years to think through their branding and their marketing strategy doesn't mean that another person that everyone needs 2 years, right?
Yes,
Uh,
100%.
so so I think the key thing to understand is to plan and to think and to be intentional about the messaging that you want to put out there. If it takes you one day to do that, if it takes you 1 month to do that, if it takes you 1 year to do that, but to really think through what are you trying to achieve, what is the message that you want to put out there in the world, because once it goes out, it's very difficult to take it back.
100%. And I also would like to add one more thing. Thank you so much, Adeolu. I totally agree with you, actually. And it also would depend dramatically on your business model and your product. Some
Yeah.
products, some business models, they do need to be online from day one. If they are not online from day one, forget about it. Some others, they might not at all have an online presence at the first stage. It's a different model. It's B2B, or it's referral, or it's working according to different dynamics and so on. So it's also business specific and line of business specific, I would say. But again, it's very variant. But once you get online, make sure that you know what you're putting and you're convinced with it and it represents you. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. If I take a particular industry, the investment industry, for example, if I think about how VC firms, a typical VC firm might operate as opposed to a family office, a VC firm will typically be very loud and very out there, and people will know who they are. Family offices, on the other hand, you hardly know who they are. They're very discreet,
Yeah.
even when they're uh, controlling monies that are much larger than even some PE firms. So you're right. You have to think about what is right for your industry and what is right for your target audience and your target customer.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So let's
100%.
keep the questions coming. Already some interesting questions coming in. We're going to shift the discussion a little bit into ethical sales and talking about the bottom line. Oh, there's another question that's already popped in. So let's jump to that question. Is there a framework or standard process for execution? This Q&A is for you guys. We have questions here, but if your questions are coming, means that I need to talk less. So great. Is there a framework, Mina, or standard process for execution?
Well, there is definitely several processes for execution, but I'm very sure that regardless of the process of the execution, you need to have one that is proved to be delivering the results. Adeolu can help you with this. I can help you with that. Lots of people can help you with this. The most important thing, rather than the framework itself, is what does it contain and how do you use it to do the delivery and the execution. Okay, even if it's a very simple Excel sheet that has the objectives, goals, strategies, milestones, the very traditional one. Put them on an Excel sheet with deadlines each and every day. You get into scratching this, doing a mark on that one, starting from the very simple notebook to Excel sheet to sophisticated softwares, whatever you have access to. Start putting this in front of you, printing it, and each and every day, what I should do today, what I should do tomorrow, and what did I do and what didn't I do. This is my advice. Tools are plenty, and definitely, if you refer to Adeolu or myself or anyone, they will help you with this. But again, if you would like to start today, start today. Don't wait till you get the most sophisticated tool tomorrow. Life is too short.
Life is too short. I agree. Good. So now we're going to move to sales, because at the end of the day, why are we marketing? Why are we branding? Why are we sending strategies? We want to sell. We want to make money. However, we want to make money in the right way, right? And we're all about that there integrity and governance. But people sometimes have the conception that, or misconception, that being ethical and being transparent will actually slow you down, and so you should just move fast and break things, right? So maybe you can just give us an example of when you actually prioritized transparent sales practices and it actually benefited you as a company in the long run.
Well, this is one of my favorite topics. I even made my thesis, the MBA thesis, on this specific topic back in 2005, the impact of ethical sales on customer satisfaction, trust, and loyalty. The industry that we were raised in or we're coming from is a very complex industry, I would say. Insurance is not that easy. Lots of terminologies, lots of product lines, and it relates to the life of customers. And there are lots of ambiguities about it, I would say, lots of question marks. And I started my career with Allianz as a salesperson, actually, and I climbed the ladder till I reached this board position sometime before I left the company. But before I moved into this CMO position, I worked in all different types of commercial business development, retail, corporate, and so direct, indirect. And all the time, this was the question and the dilemma. What should I tell the customer? And if I tell the customer this, if I reveal that part, the customer might not buy the product. I would lose revenue and so. And this is a live testimony that I'm giving you and the colleagues. When I started my career in several years ago, the year 2002 with Allianz, this was the time whereby there were very difficult things to communicate to the customer, I would say. And if you communicate these, the customer might shun away. So there was a choice. And by that time, I have chosen not to be hiding anything, to be bold and to go and tell the customer all the secrets, I would say. But prior to doing that, I needed to build a foundation of trust with my potential customer within the sales pitch or within the different communication platforms for the customer to understand that whatever I'm telling him the truth, and I'm telling him this in his favor, and so on and so forth. And this was the turning point. I start the pitch or I start the sales with a very important time, knowing my customer, understanding his needs, building this rapport of trust. And here it clicks. You find the customer telling you, you know what, I would like to hear from you. What's your advice? And then you tell him very bluntly, these are the benefits, these are the disadvantages, and that's the situation, and you took the decision. Massive conversions. And whenever a customer is locked in, he stays for a very long time. The total opposite, as you know, and as I know, and as probably everyone knows, you convert the customer very, very quickly. He becomes a customer tomorrow. Lots of hidden messages. He doesn't know anything about it. And then immediately he flies. He takes other customers with him. Your reputation is in danger. And for any one of us, understanding that sustainability is the name of the game, that's not sustainable. In our business, the insurance business, it will hunt you if you have an ethical problem, or if you as a company do not communicate very transparently, and so on and so forth. And we made lots of efforts. I do remember on communicating transparently the policy, doing videos, tutorials, and so on and so forth. Even now, whenever I meet with any of my consultancy or marketing customers, I build trust and I communicate very transparently. Attrition rates are very low. Customers are super happy. They stay and they bring other customers. That's the only secret of success for me. One last thing before I end this topic. Honesty, I think it's built within the human DNA. But unfortunately, lots of us, they try to outsmart honesty. And they try to be very smart, and they try to play differently with that thing. I do believe that this is the start of the end for anyone that would try not to play it the right way. Definitely, this is applicable to all different types of industries. Be explicit, be transparent, be customer-centric, build trust first, but be bold. The customer needs to take his chance to decide what's better for him. And once he knows all the options and he chooses to be with you, knowing the pros and cons, he stays. And nobody's perfect. You need to understand that nobody's perfect. That's my point of view.
Nobody's perfect. So I heard trust, building trust,
Yes.
listening. So not just trying to jump in and sell, but listening so that you can provide a solution, not sell again. Being transparent,
Mm.
and all this so that you can build loyalty. So I,
Yes.
I think that those
True.
are excellent lessons for all of us today.
Mm. Can I
This is
can I add
someone
one
who,
more point, please?
of course,
Yeah. For entrepreneurs, for SMEs, for businesses that are just starting, there is a very strong temptation for you when you sit with a customer, when you meet with a customer, to try to convey a message that you possess a higher degree of capacity, higher degree of capability, higher degree of operational capability. And then once you start delivering, if the customer is a big customer and has massive amounts of demands, you will fail within the first corner. And here would come the question of ethical sales. I would rather be very transparent to the customer. You know what? I have the capability, this capacity at this point of time. I'll be able to grow with you the business slowly but surely with that pace. Here, the entrepreneur needs to take this very tough bet. If you swallow more than the capability that you can digest, it will be a very tough meal on your stomach. You'll not be able to digest it. But slowly but surely, eat bites for you to be able to grow and have a healthy growth for your business. Clients will love you. They would like to give you more business, and you will have a demand piling. And you eat as per the capacity that you can acquire or scale. Go to Adeolu, she will help you how to scale your business and acquire all this massive demand.
this is great, Mina. So for everyone listening, Mina has been selling from day one for 20 plus years. So this is someone who started at the ground level in the sales, and we all know how tough sales is. And is now passing on his knowledge about how do we link strategy and marketing and sales. And so we want to hear from you. We've heard from Amina the ideal connection between these three areas. So what is the single biggest disconnect you face as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a CEO, when you're marketing? Is it marketing delivering bad leads? So your marketing team, you're complaining that they're delivering bad leads, or is it the sales team failing to convert good ones? So just interested to hear from those who are listening, from our listeners and viewers, which is it? Is it marketing's fault or is it sales fault, in your opinion, from the CEO's position? So drop your opinion in the chat and keep with the questions. So we have plenty of questions. I have plenty of questions in front of me to harass Mina with. But I'm much more eager to hear what is it that you need answers to. This is better than ChatGPT, by the way. This is a live person who has actually lived this experience. So let's talk about simplicity. And you might remember simplicity wins. That's something that might resonate with you from our past lives. So as leaders, we struggle. We have grand visions. We're trying to conquer Africa. We're trying to conquer the world. And how do we struggle then to turn these grand visions into simple goals and simple actions for the front line. So now we're all preparing for 2026. It's November already. We're preparing for 2026. So how would you advise that we turn these sometimes complex marketing and brand goals into clear daily actions that we can also communicate? You've mentioned about communication, able to communicate to our team members.
Well, thank you so much, Adeolu. I do believe that we have touched um, a little bit this topic within the discussion, but now let's unpack it
Sort of send it
as
back.
they call. Yes.
Mhm.
Well, I do remember in one of our talks, me and you told me, Mina, one word that I love most is focus. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I also love focus. I love focus. Sometimes we get into the teams with multiple messages, with very complex strategies. We ask them to do 20 things at the same point of time. And people that are
Mhm.
executing the strategy, they are simply lost. I would say the first and most important thing and the success story behind executing the strategy is to have this very clear list of simple tasks at the execution level with a very focused mind. What shall I be doing today? And what shall I be doing tomorrow? And what shall I be doing after tomorrow? And if I do these things, how would these things contribute to the slightly bigger picture? And how would these slightly bigger picture contribute to the global bigger picture? And this brings us to something that we talked about before, which is breaking down the strategy into smaller parts. For example, the strategy needs to be broken down into objectives, goals, strategic milestones, and deadlines with very clear responsibilities. So if you as a CEO would be having a strategy in one paper with 5 or 6 strategic pillars, for me as someone executing the strategy, I would only have 4 or 5 Excel sheet rows, very clear tasks, what shall be done, when it shall be done, and that's it for me. Okay, this is something that needs to be done very, very, very meticulously, and it needs to be done by a professional, either within your team or someone from the outside, like Adeolu or myself or whomever, that can build the global picture, but rather having this document that is cascaded down to the most junior person within the company with very clear tasks. And so focus, focus, focus. If focus is not there, and if you go to the team, we do not translate the strategy, people will get confused and will not be moving ahead. And I will remind you with one terminology, I like it very much, the treadmill. You know the treadmill?
The treadmill.
You know the treadmill? Yeah, you know it.
Yes, yes. Treadmill, yeah.
You're running,
I don't know it.
but you're not moving ahead.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're running. You're doing a massive amount of effort.
As a runner who loves to run on the treadmill, I understand that.
Yeah. You massive amount of effort. The whole organization is burned out, and you put the speed on the high speed, but the whole organization is stagnant. It's not moving ahead. And we keep on asking ourselves, is it because we do not communicate, or what's the problem? People are too stupid, or what's the... We are complicating matters for the team. Let's be very focused.
So focus. I love the idea of a one pager. Can we write our strategy on one page? I would suspect
100%.
most of us cannot. So start there. Put your strategy on one page, and then make sure that you have focused goals for each and every person that they can relate to that one page you have as your strategy. Also an incentive for me. So thank you for that incentive, Mina. So let's look let's shift a little bit. So we know we're now in the execution stage, and you talked about planning, and we've mentioned before that failing to plan is planning to fail. So we want to learn from your mistakes as well. We're learning from your knowledge, from all the things that you've done right. But I'm sure you mentioned yourself, nobody's perfect. So can you share, of course, in a very confidential way, a big strategic mistake when you neglected, you being a very general you, so your team neglected your plan, and that cost the business really significantly. And so,
100%.
The lesson you...
Yeah, 100%. Well, one thing that I've learned the good and hard way after leaving corporate, the one is humbled with limited capabilities the entrepreneur would have in comparison to a huge corporation like the one we used to work in. You start being your own CEO, CMO, I don't know, XO, and then at the same point of time, you need to be your own delivery person, your own collection person, and so on and so forth. And one of these very big strategic mistakes, I would say, was for one of these accounts that we acquired, and I acquired this account based on the recommendation of a couple of senior team members. But to be very honest with you, we didn't have the experience, the organization experience, and the scale to be able to deliver to the customer at the speed he needed to have the service. This was on the marketing side. And we used to deliver very good quality, but not at this speed. But not at the speed. And to be honest, here I had one of two strategic alternatives: either to try to make it work, but the customer is at rush, he's a huge corporation, he needs to run very quickly, or to face the reality and to go to the customer and tell him, hey, probably we need to change the scope of work. We'll not be able to do all these matters at the same point of time. We need to do it in a different way. And we totally changed the scope of work, minimized it, but to a point that we can be solid, strong, we delivered good quality, and then build an escalating pattern. I would say that's a strategic mistake from the very beginning. Probably if we did better planning, especially for our capabilities, and especially for the team capabilities, and for organizational capabilities, for a fresh company, I wouldn't have started the relationship on that magnitude. And that's a very blunt confession, but again, we need to be blunt about it. And we learned from that point. We brought other types of calibers. We built capabilities around that, and now the relationship is excellent and is growing. But it was for me a very important lesson.
Yeah, that's excellent, and we appreciate your transparency here. We talked about being ethical. We talked about being transparent. We talked about trust, and we're seeing that represented already with Mina's feedback. I did see a question pop up, and I'm looking at the time. So if you still want a question to be answered by 20 plus years of sales experience, I recommend you drop it in the comment box as quickly as possible. In the meantime, we'll take this question from Rola A. Aside from focus, what is the most underrated strategic decision your consulting clients made early on that shaped how the company grew, apart from focus?
What's the most underrated strategic direction you or your consulting clients made early on that shaped how the company grew? I do believe that one of the most strategic decisions is your go-to-market strategy and your business development strategy. Lots of SMEs actually struggle to generate revenue. This was not the case, for example, with the example I gave, because revenue generation was not the issue, but rather operational excellence and capacity match. I do believe for a CEO, one of your most important tasks, beside being a CEO, is to be the chief revenue officer and to look at very important revenue generation venues. That's my key takeaway.
Okay, so focus. We have focus, and now is the go-to-market and really the revenue generation, which of course ties to sustainability. We're not charities, we're not nonprofits. So how we are able to generate revenue from the get-go is quite critical. Great, I like that. Not sure. I don't think I've seen any other questions come in, but we'll keep going. So let's take one final question before we close out what has been another riveting session. I'm sure we'll need Mina to come back again, unpack some of the terms, maybe dive into branding or go-to-market strategy. I'm sure these are terms that maybe some of you might be new to you. So let's close around problem solving or problems. We all have problems. Any business has problems. Even the biggest businesses have problems. And so for me, I'm one of those who, yes, I realize problems are going to come, and I'm fine with my team members coming to me with problems. But what I don't like is when they simply come to me with the problem expecting I'm going to solve it, rather than having thought through it themselves a bit and coming with recommendations and trying to together jointly collaboratively find the best solution. So help us. How do we empower our particularly our marketing and customer facing teams so that because they're the ones who are dealing with our customers, right? And the customers are coming with issues. And we wanted those teams to be empowered to solve those issues right on the front line and not have to wait and say, oh, let me check with my CEO. Oh, let me go check with Mina. Let me go check with Adeolu. So how do we bring strategic solutions or help them bring strategic solutions that can actually help to improve our service, our customer service?
Well, I would put here also a very simple answer and but fundamental from my point of view. I do believe that the major responsibility would be on the CEO and on the leader of the organization. And here we need to understand that it's our mandate, our responsibility to build a culture of trust and of security within the company. Lots of us, unfortunately, and in light of our keenness to deliver the business and to resolve problems and to generate the revenue and so on and so forth, we are very one-man show in our approach. We are very conservative in our approach. We're very defensive. We are not giving the teams enough trust and enough opportunity not to be afraid to talk to us and to express their opinion and so on. By pure coincidence, today morning, I was in discussion with one of my team members that brought yesterday a couple of very brilliant ideas. He brought them to my office and he told me, you know what, we can do this with the customer and that with the customer. And then I told him, why don't you start working on an execution plan for this and that for us to discuss together? He was a bit skeptical to work on this execution plan. So today I had a coaching meeting with him. I told him, well, that's the culture we're embracing, that you feel that you have a contribution and you can bring solutions and so on and so forth, but also you need to understand the responsibility that is coupled with this level of trust. If you bring an idea, you need to be willing to execute and walk an extra mile. And that's the balance we should always keep. But it always starts from us. We need to let it go a little bit, allow some mistakes to happen as long as it will not close the business or ruin the brand or dilute the service offering to the customer or let the customer lose billions. And so for the team to start feeling more appreciated, more important, adding value, and they will simply become more courageous. This is one thing. Secondly, we need to be backing our teams up. Whenever they take an initiative, whenever they give any decision to the customer, as long as it's the right one and it's an important one, we need to give them credit and we need to give them support. Sometimes I'm more keen about the business more than the team member. And then if the team member gives a promise and then I find the CEO of the other company shouting at the team member, telling me you don't know anything, even if I know that my team member has a point of view. And this does what? It destroys his self-esteem, destroys his self-trust, and let the employee say what? You know what? I will not be bringing any ideas. This company is not giving me credit. This company is not giving me my prestige or my status in front of the customer. I will just be an employee. I will not be an entrepreneur, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect way to close this session, talking about how focusing on not just building trust with your customers and our clients, but building trust with our team. And we are the coaches, right? So for those of us who are CEOs in this session, we are the coaches for our team. So what are we doing to make sure that the team is trusting us to always have their back? So that's an Americanism, to have your back and not throw our folks under the bus. So thank you, Mina. This has been another. I see some people already dropping comments like the treadmill analogy is absolutely perfect, value add, etc. But it's not enough to just drop comments, guys, and to say how much you loved Mina in this session. We want commitment. Every time we say we want to know what you're actually going to change. I mentioned before that the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is today. So what are you going to do? Let us know in the comment box. What are you going to do? Whether it's in strategy, whether it's in customer excellence, whether it's in your sales or marketing, what are you going to change today to implement some of the learnings that you have from 20 plus years on the field in both sales and strategy? So thank you so much, Mina, for taking the time from joining us from Cairo, Egypt, and sharing all the knowledge that you packed. And then, in another 20 years, we'll have you back to see
Thank you so
with
much,
40 plus.
Adeolu, for having me. I hope the discussion was a light one, beneficial for the people. Again, as I mentioned, we all learn from each other. No one has the absolute amount of information and others do not know. We learn from each other. Thank you also. I learned a lot today through your very insightful questions. It's always pleasure being with you and definitely would love to take part in your forums in the near future. We will arrange this.
We love Mina. Hard, hard, hard. Okay, thanks, precious. All right, so thank you, Mina. And so to close our session, as we usually do, so going back to the scale framework, if you could bring the slides back on the screen. So we focused today on S. But remember, there are four other pillars, and those pillars all work together. So you don't just do one. I do strategy today, and then we can go back to the same slide. Do strategy today, and then I work on my people, and then I work on my leadership, and then I work on. No, that's not how it works. Everything is interconnected. So even as you're working on your strategy, you have people. You have to be a leader. You have to coach those people to be able to execute, and etc. So where are you today in those five areas? We have our scale scorecard. We have a QR code on the screen. It's just 25 questions. It'll take you 3 minutes. It'll take you through those five pillars, and so that you can see where are your gaps today. Where do you want to focus again, and where do you want to close? And of course, for more learnings other than ChatGPT, you can also dive into our book, Afro-Optimism Unleashed, and we walk you again through those same five pillars through our scale framework to really hold your hand to be able to execute just in time for 2026. And with that, we come to the end of our session. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, keep dropping those aha moments. Tell us what you're going to change today. And we are looking forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks. Have a great day, everyone.